Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is breaking below this very important line of support, which means this Wyckoff accumulation has now failed. Or has it? More on that in just a moment, and towards the end of this video, we have some important Bitcoin charts we cannot ignore. So make sure you're sticking around to the end of this video, and before we jump into it, make sure to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these future updates. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. It's right here on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 6-hour time frame. And I mentioned in yesterday's Bitcoin update video that if Bitcoin breaks below this low just here, coming in at approximately 48,000, then this Wyckoff accumulation would have failed, and obviously we have done that since then. And by the way, for any of the beginners out there, we're using the Wyckoff accumulation schematic number 1, which is basically a 5-stage bullish reversal pattern. But as I just mentioned, with the recent price action that we've seen over the past 1 to 2 days, this can no longer be called Wyckoff accumulation, but that is when you're looking at the 6-hour time frame. One possible scenario that I mentioned yesterday on the channel was the possibility of a larger Wyckoff accumulation playing out. And by the way, this is the 12-hour time frame for Bitcoin. So when you're looking at the possible Wyckoff accumulation like this, we are only in phase B of the Wyckoff accumulation. We've only just completed phase A. And something very interesting about this larger Wyckoff accumulation on the 12-hour time frame for Bitcoin is if you're staying on the 12-hour time frame but looking at the price action that we saw in the middle of this year, you can see that that previous price action strongly resembles the current Bitcoin price action, at least so far. So when you're looking at potentially where we are right now, we're somewhere around here. And just by switching back and forward between these two charts, I'm sure you can see the similarities between these two. But in case you can't, I'll overlay this previous price action on top of the current Bitcoin price action right now. And this might look familiar to you if you're on the channel just a couple days ago, because just a few days ago when Bitcoin was sitting at around 50,000 US dollars, I mentioned this possible fractal as one of the worst case scenarios for Bitcoin, at least when you're talking about the short-term price action, and that we could see a dump sometime soon. Then it is still possible that we could come back down towards the mid 40Ks and play out another 1 to 2 weeks worth of sideways price action. If something like that were to play out, I can tell you right now that a lot of the markets will go back into fear, and possibly extreme fear, because right now there is an increasing number of market participants that think Bitcoin is just going to begin a recovery right now with barely any downside. And so something like this would catch a lot of people off guard. A lot more people would start flipping bearish again, looking at much lower prices. And then at that stage, we'll continue on with the recovery to the upside when people least expect it. But there's two important things to mention here. First of all, these green candlesticks, which was the previous price action that we copied, is at a slightly smaller scale compared to the previous price action. And the second important thing to mention here is the fact that we are still in the very early stages of this possible larger Wyckoff accumulation, which means at this stage it is closer to speculation above anything else. Because as you might already know if you have been subscribed to the channel, Wyckoff accumulation only really plays out once we start entering into phase E and basically complete all of these other phases, which right now we have not seen when you're looking at the Wyckoff accumulation like this. And so once again, as I have been saying almost every single day over the past couple of weeks, short-term bearish price action is still in the cards, because in reality, there's never really a perfect recovery with no pullbacks. And this does give Bitcoin the flexibility of even coming all the way down towards 44 to 45,000. And even at that stage, we could still play out this Wyckoff accumulation pretty much for as long as Bitcoin remains above 40,000. It is still a high probability that within the next couple of months, we could see the recovery coming into play. And as I mentioned earlier, right now, this is a bit of speculation, so take it with a grain of salt, but it does suggest the recovery happening possibly leading into January and February. So basically Q1 2022. Yet another similarity that we have been talking about between the current price action and the price action that we saw in the middle of this year was that bullish divergence on the daily time frame, which by the way, Bitcoin has only really seen 2 proper bullish divergences on the daily time frame this year. And so looking at what happened last time after we saw the last bullish divergence on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we experienced one more dip to the downside, which is basically the dip that we're experiencing right now. And then we simply saw another sideways consolidation for close to around 1 month before then the recovery began. Having some of those other factors at play, for example, the Wyckoff accumulation and the fractal, could possibly sabotage this bump and run reversal pattern, which was technically suggesting a recovery almost immediately. And technically speaking, that could still play out if we see a daily candle close above this point right here, coming in at approximately 47,500 US dollars. So for the time being, at least at the time of filming this video, there is still some hope here for Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin Bitcoin spends the next couple days at around these sort of prices that we're at right now, or even the next 1 to 2 weeks at these same sort of prices, then in that case, it would be safe to say that this bump and run reversal pattern might not be playing out, and instead we'll be looking at this larger Wyckoff accumulation playing out over the next 1 month approximately. But up until now, everything that I have been talking about in this video is only really talking about the shorter term to mid-term, relatively speaking. If you're talking about the longer term trends for Bitcoin, right now we are technically more bullish than we are bearish. This is not just my opinion or my prediction, this is actually what is on the chart. Right now, when you're on the daily time frame zoomed all the way out, you can see that Bitcoin is forming higher lows, and we're still forming higher highs on the chart, whether you're looking at these two highs or these two highs. And obviously, when Bitcoin is making higher highs and higher lows, and when we are going to the upside, that is clearly an uptrend. Something like a bear market requires consistent lower highs and lower lows on the larger time frames, like the daily time frame when you zoomed all the way out. And if you're looking at the current Bitcoin price action, that is simply not what we are seeing. The short-term downtrend that we're seeing right now is only that, a short-term downtrend. For those of you that watched yesterday's Bitcoin update video, I talked about this chart in more detail, but basically all you need to know is the candlestick just here is the Bitcoin price on the daily time frame, and this yellow line right here is actually the S&P 500 index on the same time frame. And you'll notice that Bitcoin is most bearish when the stock market is bearish, and Bitcoin is most bullish when the stock market is bullish. Once again, that's not just my opinion or my prediction, that is actually what is on the chart. And if you're looking at what's on the chart right now, the S&P 500 has just broken into a brand new all-time high, which is obviously a bullish signal, and we are clearly still in a bullish trend looking in the stock market. So if you're talking about the much bigger picture, the longer term trend looking over many months from now, and even possibly over the rest of 2022, depending on what the stock market is doing, at least as of right now, we are looking more bullish than we are bearish for the longer term. Two possible signs to pay attention to that would be bearish for Bitcoin on the bigger picture would be if Bitcoin started breaking into brand new lower lows on the daily time frame, which once again right now we are not seeing, and also if we started forming major lower highs on the daily time frame, which once again right now we are not seeing, and also if we saw a major crash in the stock market, that would be very bearish for Bitcoin, as we did discover in March 2020, but once again right now we are not seeing that. And just before wrapping up this video, I thought this is very interesting and I should share it. Basically what we have here is the Bitcoin to US dollar chart on the 3-day time frame, and we obviously have the RSI just here and major similarities between the current Bitcoin price and what we saw during September 2020. First of all, looking at this previous price action, we had a major horizontal line of resistance similar to this somewhat horizontal line of resistance that we have for Bitcoin. Also, what we were seeing last year in the price action was higher lows forming, exactly like what we're seeing right now on the 3-day time frame. We're still forming higher lows, and looking in the RSI leading up to the recent correction, we did form some higher highs on the 3-day RSI for Bitcoin, similar to this previous price action, and at the same time we saw a hidden bullish divergence, which is lower lows in the RSI and higher lows in the price action, exactly like what we are seeing right now. So basically, for as long as Bitcoin can remain above around 40,000 US dollars and not break below this previous September low, then once again in the coming months from now, looking at the bigger picture, because remember this is on the 3-day time frame, there is still a pretty high probability of bullish price action going into 2022. If you want to stay up to date in the crypto markets at all times and have access to some fine crypto memes, definitely make sure you follow me over on my Twitter, and the link to my Twitter is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you enjoyed this video or got something valuable out of it, please make sure to leave a like down below, and if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. As always, I appreciate all of your support in the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough, and before you click off, you might as well check out one of these uploads if you haven't already. But anyway, that is it for this update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.